Hey guys, it's Will here, and I'm back with Sam for another Batrep.
You right, guys?
So, if you saw our last video reviewing 8th edition, we said we were going to bring you Eldar versus Chaos, and that's exactly what we're doing.
Yeah, so looking forward to this, seeing how Chaos go against Eldar. From what I've seen, both factions have gone up in points, so we've increased our point cap to 2,000.
Yeah, and I've still got less than I would have had at 1750 before. So
yeah, if I were to run a standard 1750 CAD, I'm pretty sure I would have the same stuff, although I've lost the ability to take obliterators as troops.
Aw, I've lost the ability to take jet bikes as troops.
That's a good thing.
No, it's not. I literally don't own enough troops to field a battalion.
Well, as I say, I'm certainly looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Normally Chaos versus Eldar would be a write-off.
But today things are different. With all the changes, it should actually be a pretty close game. And yeah, we're doing tactical escalation, so starting on a very low number of objectives and building up.
I'm interested to see how the secondary objective, now that you select a card type with tactical escalation, I'm interested to see how that comes in. So
yeah, it'd be interesting to see what effect that has on the game. But anyway, let's take a look at the armies. So here's my 2,000 points of Eldar. When I was constructing this list, realised that I can't actually do a standard battalion detachment because these Windrider jet bikes that make up the majority of my troops are now fast attack. So instead, I've gone for a spearhead detachment and a vanguard detachment and an outrider detachment. So starting with my outriders, that's got 1 HQ choice, my Farseer on a jet bike with a singing spear, and then 3 units of jet bikes. Be interesting to try out how the new weapon options work, because scatter lasers being heavy aren't going to be as manoeuvrable, whereas the shuriken cannons on this squad here are going to be more manoeuvrable. Then I've got swooping hawks and warp spiders, and that completes out my outrider detachment. And then I have my vanguard, which requires 3 elite choices in HQ. So those are my wraith guard with the wraith cannons, striking scorpions, and fire dragons. The HQ for that is going to be my Spirit Seer, and then I have a troops choice over here, the Dire Avengers, who are the only troops choice I now own. Got 2 Wave Serpent grav tanks, one with shuriken cannons, one with las cannons. Got a Falcon with a Bright Lance. Sorry, I think I called those las cannons. They're not. They're Bright Lances. So Falcon with a Bright Lance, and then a unit of 5 Dark Reapers. So that rounds it out. 2,000 points, 1 Outrider, and 1 Vanguard detachment, giving me 5 command points in total. And here's Sam's 2,000 points of Chaos Space Marines, decked out in the colours of the Iron Warriors. So this is pretty much the army he used in Taylor 4 Gamers, so you can see how much the points value's gone up. Demon Prince actually went down in points, so this is one of his HQ choices. He's a standard flying Demon Prince, and he's got Infernal Gaze. Then he's got his Sorcerer with the Force Sword and Bolt Pistol, and he's got Warp Time and Prescience. 3 Chaos Space Marine squads, 5 dudes in each. So the first 2 have this loadout of Melter Gun, Combi Melter, Bolt Pistol and Close Combat Weapon, and a Rhino. Second squad's the same, and then the third squad is Bolt Guns and a Heavy Bolter. Then he's got his Raptors, 2 Melter Guns and a Power Sword. 4 Bikes, 2 Melter Guns and a Power Sword. Hellbrute with a Heavy Plasma and a Fist. 5 Terminators, so we've got a couple of Chain Fists in there, a couple of Power Fists, Power Axe. We've got a Flamer and a Combi Flamer, so they're very decked out. Havocs with 4 autocannons, and then 2 Hellbrutes, both with Hades autocannons and Ectoplasma cannons, so potentially a lot of firepower coming out here and loads of melters. I think if these guys get too close, my tanks are going to have a tough time surviving, even though Eldar tanks got even more survivable. But anyway, on to deployment. Okay, so we're all set up here on another one of the boards at 40k Gaming, and we've got frontline assault deployment, so it's kind of a triangle pointing towards the middle, although I've pulled quite far back, because I want to get some shots in on these Chaos guys before they get to me. So the Chaos forces over here have mainly clustered around the centre. There's a lot of objectives on this side of the board. We've got one there, I think there's one under the Rhino, one there and one there. So this sort of area is quite packed. He's got his Sorcerer in one of the Rhinos. Havoc's looking to get line of sight down to here where my Grav tanks are advancing. Hellbrute there, Demon Prince in the middle, with just the one Chaos squad and the Rhino holding down that end. In reserves he's got his Raptors and his Chaos Terminators. I've reserved my Striking Scorpions and my Swooping Hawks, but I can't reserve my Warp Spiders anymore. They lost the ability to do a deep strikey type thing, so it's going to be interesting to see if they survive at all being stuck out on foot now, especially with Flicker Jump not being quite what it used to be. But I've got jet bikes, tanks, more jet bikes, got my Wraith Guard in there. Spirit Seer's behind, he's going to hop in. I wanted to blag an extra drop to try and get more of a refused flank deployment. Falcon in there with the Fire Dragons inside. Reaper's taking advantage of the cover here and getting good line of sight on some of his top targets. Farseer with these jet bikes. These are the ones with the shuriken cannons, so they want to get a little bit closer. Dire Avengers in here, and the only thing on this side of the board is these jet bikes. Again, I've tried to go for a refused flank style deployment, but Sam countered it quite well, so it's not going to give me as much of an advantage as I hoped for. Anyway, right now Sam has first turn, but I'm going to try and seize the initiative. No, it's a 5. Initiative not stolen. Here we go with Chaos turn 1. So Sam started off drawing only a single objective, which was to score objective 2. And as a result he had to advance his bikes to make sure they got to it and scored it. That meant they weren't shooting. Everything else, the Demon Prince and the Rhinos moved forward as fast as they could, as did the Hellbrute, while the more shooty elements of the force stayed back. In the psychic phase, the Demon Prince killed 2 of my Dark Reapers with his Infernal Gaze, and then the Sorcerer put Prescience onto the Havoc squad and attempted to warp time the Demon Prince before realising it only had a range of 3 inches, so instead warp timed himself behind the Rhino. Shooting was largely focused on the Dark Reapers and the Wave Serpent, but a combination of some pretty poor hit rolls and the good armour saves for being in the woods and being a Wave Serpent meant I only lost a single Reaper. That was to the fire of this Hellbrute? No, Forge Fiend over there killed a single one. The Hellbrute didn't manage to hit either of them. The autocannons and this Forge Fiend shot the Wave Serpent and failed to do any damage, as did the Heavy Bolter from that squad over there. So, yeah, a somewhat subpar shooting phase for Sam, but he did score objective 2, giving him the first point of the game. But let's see if the Eldar can respond to this. I'm really thinking I should be able to get first blood this turn, but let's go on to Eldar turn 2. Okay, so end of my turn, and to start with I want to say I love being able to pick when my reserves turn up. Had my Swooping Hawks turn up, my Striking Scorpions, and my Warp Spiders. My objective was Big Game Hunter, and this has changed slightly. You now have to have a wound value of at least 10 to count, so the Demon Prince and the Hellbrute don't count, but the Rhinos do. So got me Fire Dragons out and cast Guide on them, which almost wrecked the Rhino, left it on 2 wounds left, and so their Wave Serpent, or this Wave Serpent that had the Wraith Guard inside, finished it off. The ensuing explosion then killed 3 out of the 5 guys inside as well, which I was rather pleased with. The rest of my psychic phase was a bit of a fluff. Fortune was dispelled, and this guy's Conceal failed to cast. Dire Avengers were the other unit to disembark, and my jet bike units moved out round the flanks and forward over the trees. Shooting phase, the Swooping Hawks, Dire Avengers, jet bikes and wave serpent all targeted the bikes and didn't quite finish them off. It took this bike squad to do the job. And over here, these jet bikes... Oh no, they targeted the bikes as well. It took a lot of firepower to bring the bikes down. I also fired the Falcon and the Dark Reapers at the Demon Prince, but had some pretty poor to hit rolls, so he's still on almost full wounds. But like I said earlier, I did take the Rhino down, which got me First Blood and Big Game Hunter. So that's a nice 2-point turn to start things off. That combat squad is somewhat depleted. The bikes are deleted, Rhino's gone, and this squad also took 3 casualties from the pistol fire from the Scorpions. Managed to get 3 rending, or not rending, but effectively rending hits on there. So yeah, not a bad first turn at all for the Eldar. Let's see what response Chaos have in Chaos turn 2. So, start of Chaos turn 2, and the first thing Sam did was completely forget about his reserves again, because he doesn't have to roll for them, he's just completely forgot to bring them on. So, the Terminators and the Raptors are going to sit out one more turn, but hopefully he will remember to bring them on next turn. Then he drew 2 objectives, defend 5, which is right over the back where the Havocs are, but he needs to hold that for 2 turns to score it, and scour the skies. Now, scour the skies, you'd think pretty difficult, because there's no flyers. But no, all of this now counts as flying. Jet bikes, grav tanks, swooping hawks, all have the fly keyword, they all count. So, the Hellbrute wandered over there to get the warp spiders, Demon Prince moved forward, this squad disembarked from their Rhino, and then he opened up with significant psychic power actually. The Demon Prince tried to Infernal Gaze the jet bikes but failed. He then put Prescience on the Havocs, but that failed. In fact, no, the Demon Prince was denied. They failed, but then the Smite from the Sorcerer killed 3 of the Dire Avengers. He then followed up with the Havocs and this Chaos squad. Left the Dire Avengers on 3 guys left before the Chaos Marines came in and wiped them out. Although he did suffer a couple of casualties, one from an overwatched Sunburst grenade and one from my Exarch's Power Glaive, but yeah, wiped the squad out. Other than that, both Hellbrutes went after the jet bikes. Sorry, yes, Forge Fiends. Both Forge Fiends went after the jet bikes and wiped them out, which cleared a path for the Farseer to charge, or to be charged by the Demon Prince. I suffered 3 wounds from the Demon Prince and did no damage in return. This already rather depleted squad tried to shoot and subsequently charge the Fire Dragons. Did kill 3 with shooting, but then lost 1 on the charge to my Overwatch and failed the charge. Over here, the Heavy Bolter from this squad killed a Striking Scorpion. In combat, like I say, these guys wiped out the Dire Avengers. He got in on the Farseer for 3 wounds. And over here, the Forge Fiend charged the Hellbrute. I always get those 2 the wrong way around. The Hellbrute charged the Warp Spiders and killed 3 of them. It did take a wound in return. One of them managed to manage a lucky punch. So, yeah, just 1 point for Scour the Skies, leaving me still in the lead as we head into Eldar turn 2. And all these units that are tied down in combat, like this Wave Serpent that's been tied up on the Overwatch, can all move out and act normally because they all fly. Here we go, Eldar, turn 2. Right, so at the start of my turn, did what I said I was going to do, pulled all my fly units that were stuck in combat out of combat. My objectives were secure 4, which is nice and easy over there, just had to wipe off that Chaos squad, and defend 3. Now the way we're reading it, it says for 2 consecutive turns, and so that in theory, because each player turn is a turn, you only have to hold it for your turn and then your opponent's. That incidentally is over there, in those woods where the Striking Scorpions are. Wraithguard disembarked from the Wave Serpent and pushed up. Jet bikes stayed round there where they were. Falcon stayed still. Wave Serpent stepped back out of combat, and the Swooping Hawks jumped in ready to shoot up the Chaos Marines. And these guys shot round here. The Farseer came from over there out of combat with the Demon Prince into that Spectre there to kind of buddy up with this squad. He doesn't actually join them, but he's hanging out with them. In the psychic phase, he cast Fortune on the Swooping Hawks, but it was dispelled. But he did manage to guide the Falcon, and I cast Conceal over there. He's just within 3 inches, so those Wraith Guard now are at anything that shoots them is at -1 to hit. Shooting phase, I had to wipe out his little like one-off dudes in order to get the shooting elsewhere. So here, before I could start shooting the Demon Prince with these guys, I had to kill these 3 Chaos Marines, but he got rather lucky with his saves. That and the reduced accuracy of these shuriken, the scatter lasers on the jet bikes, meant that they didn't actually get to shoot anything. It took all of this to wipe out that 3-man squad, but it did score me that objective, so that's worth it. Over here, the Wave Serpent fired off its Serpent Shield, which auto hits the nearest target on a 2+, so that was the Demon Prince for D3 mortal wounds. It then tried to kill that Chaos Space Marine that was hanging out there, but he survived that and in the end had to be taken down by these jet bikes. But both the turret weapon on here and the turret weapon on the Falcon put between them, I think it was about 6 wounds onto the Forge Fiend, but he's just enough to make him downgrade to the next level. And then that left the Fire Dragons free to shoot the Demon Prince, and did a couple of wounds to him there. And finally the Striking Scorpions made their charge and absolutely butchered the survivors from that Chaos Marine squad, scoring me objective 3. Just need to hold that for a turn in order to score the points there. And the over here, the Warp Spiders had a really long jump. They are so fast now, and were able to get nice and close to the Sorcerer to shoot him, but then failed to do any wounds. So, end of my turn. I've scored objective 4. That puts me on 3 points, and I'm not in a bad position. I've taken out the majority of his infantry, just got the Havocs left, but it's these vehicles and monsters that are giving me trouble. But right now we've probably got some Chaos reserves coming in, so here we go. We're Chaos turn 3. Chaos turn 3, and Sam finally remembered his reserves. So the Raptors came on down here and proceeded to shoot up the jet bikes with the melter guns, killed 2 of them. Survivor didn't flee, but they were nowhere near charge range. Terminators deep struck down here, and then the Sorcerer cast Warp Speed on them, giving them a free move. They then shot up the Scorpions before charging them. Did lose 2 in the combat thanks to the Scorpion's Claw and Mandiblasters, but they killed most of the Scorpions and most importantly pulled me off objective 3, meaning that I'm not going to secure that for 2 turns in a row. Other than that, the Forge Fiend shot the Wraith Guard, but only lost 1 to the fire of that and the Havocs, thanks to the -1 to hit, and now having 3 wounds per model. This one and the Rhino went for the Swooping Hawks and killed 3 of them. Oh, they need to take a leadership actually. No, they're fine. And the Demon Prince cast Infernal Gaze onto the Spirit Seer, but he dispelled it, but then killed him in combat. And finally the Havocs decided to charge out of combat, charge out of their nicely defended position and get into combat with the Warp Spiders, which is a slightly risky move, and it didn't really pay off. Did a wound to the Exarch, but not really a lot else, and is going to potentially leave them locked down. And Sam's just remembered his Demon Prince gets a 3-inch consolidation, so he has now engaged the Wraith Guard, which is a real pain in the butt because I can't shoot him with the Wraith Guard now. But there are other ways I can kill a Demon Prince. So here we go. Points wise, I think Sam scored secure objective 5 with the Hellbrute at the back there, Forge Fiend, and he also had Witch Hunter, so killing the Spirit Seer was pretty handy. So that's 2 points for Sam, which I think just edges him into the lead. But here we go, Eldar turn 3 coming right up. Third turn, and I'm still holding defend 3, but I've also now got to secure 3 and secure 6. 6 was nice and easy because it was right under my Falcon, Wave Serpent, which only had to move a little bit to get a good line of sight on the Demon Prince as well. For 3, I had to disengage, so retreat my Scorpions, which meant they couldn't do a lot this turn, but they did grab me that score. And both of these were from the capture and control section. Now, in this mission now, you get to pick one section of the objective markers, and you get an extra point for each one you score, but you lose a point for discarding them. So I got these 2 for double points, so that's actually really good. But anyway, how did the turn proceed? So, the Wave Serpent backed up to get shot on the Raptors and killed 2 of them. The Farseer and the one surviving jet bike came over here to target the Demon Prince, as did the Warp Spiders. Demon Prince was locked in combat, so to allow other units to shoot at him, move the Wraith Guard out, did mean they couldn't shoot this turn, but it didn't seem to cost me much because the combined fire of the jet bikes, Warp Spiders and Wave Serpent finished off the Demon Prince, and the Fire Dragons ran through the woods to shoot at the Hell Brute, put 6 wounds on it, and then the Falcon took the last wound. Forge Fiend, sorry, I'm getting all these Chaos models. It's been a long day, it's been a very long day. But yeah, the Forge Fiend was destroyed by the firepower of the Fire Dragons and the Falcon. So the Falcon and Wave Serpent have been my star players today. Those laser weapons are brutal against the monsters and vehicles now. Finally, the Swooping Hawks fired at the Havocs and killed 3 of them. And the Havocs actually need to take a leadership test. It's a 1, they're absolutely fine, but because the Sun Rifle on the Swooping Hawk Exarch did a wound, they're at -1 to hit next turn, but I fear the Hawks are about to die because we got the Forge Fiend and the Sorcerer there. But scored 4 points that turn, and I don't know if that Demon Prince was the Warlord or not, but if he was, then that's Warlord as well. So I've checked that with Sam. He's just helping out a couple of the other lads with their game, but he'll be back in a minute. Let's go with Chaos turn 4. Okay, so as we head into the 4th Chaos turn, the forces of the Iron Warriors are depleted, but still a threat. The Raptors jumped over here to score behind enemy lines and put a wound on the Wave Serpent, but it's got 12 left, so it's alright. The Rhino backed up to grab Objective 2. The Forge Fiend fired, and I can't remember what the Forge Fiend fired at. Oh yeah, the Wraith Guard, but didn't do any damage thanks to their armour. Sorcerer ducked behind there to try and stay safe because he's Warlord, and the Terminators charged in, butchered the last of the Scorpions. He's holding secure Objective 3, but it's the defend version, so he needs to hold it for another turn before he scores it. But he did score Objective 2 with that and behind enemy lines, giving him 2 points. Although the kills for the turn comprised only 2 Scorpions, so not too bad turn for the Eldar there. And we're now going to turn 4. Let's see if we can wipe these guys out. So I mucked up my movement a little bit this turn. I had hold the line as one of my objectives, and I thought I only had to be partially within my deployment zone. But turns out, after reading it at the end of the turn, I have to be totally within my deployment zone. So only actually one of my tanks is completely within my deployment zone, the other 2 are only partial, so that doesn't score it. Did wipe out the last Havoc, moved the Fire Dragons out of the combat and lit him up with a Wraith Guard, and put a few wounds onto the old Forge Fiend at the back there, and a few onto the Rhino, but really didn't do as much damage as I would have hoped. It's not a great deal happened, but I did score Scour the Skies for wiping out the Raptors in my deployment zone, although it took the fire of both the Wave Serpent and the Falcon to do it. Discarding secure or hold Objective 3 because I can't really get anything over there right now. So although we're winning in terms of models left, I didn't really get too many points that turn, so hopefully we'll have a better turn 5 and turn this around. Okay, so this turn it was a little bit all or nothing for Sam. Moved the Terminators up to wipe out the Swooping Hawks to score him no prisoners, and his Sorcerer also cast Prescience on himself to give him Harness the Warp, although my Farseer dispelled it, but it still counts as a score. He also scored another copy of Objective 2 with his Rhino. I need to deal with that because he's racking up his points pretty well. Shooting phase was really just the wiping out of the Swooping Hawks. the Forge Fiend, I can't even remember. Oh, that shot the jet bike with its ectoplasma and killed that as well. And the Hades autocannon shot for the warp spiders, but they saved all the hits. Finally, the sorcerer charged into combat with the Farseer and did a wound to him for no damage in return. But he's going to be a little bit out on his own now, and there's some serious firepower nearby. Alright, 5th Eldar turn, let's see if we can close this out. Really good points turn for the Eldar there. Still had hold the line, which I backed up all my tanks into my deployment zone to score. Also had secure objectives 6, 1 and 2. So 2 was there, 6 was there, and 1 was over there. So 1 was an easy hold for my jet bikes, and 6 was an easy hold for this Wave Serpent. To get 2, I had to blast the Rhino off this objective, which took the combined firepower of my Farseer, that jet bike squad, and both of these grav tanks to do it, but eventually did it, so that Rhino is out of there, but it did take everything. Wraithguard advanced to try and kill the Sorcerer, but they rolled badly and then didn't hit very well, so he lived from them. But then the Fire Dragons had also advanced and did the job. Shame they had to do it, because I was kind of relying on them to hit the Forge Fiend, but he did take 2 wounds from the Warp Spiders. So ended up scoring all of my objectives this turn, because I also got Supremacy for D3, which was just 1. And yeah, also got Slay the Warlord, and those Warp Spiders are just line breaking, which means that I'm now up to 14 points if the game ends now. Sam's on 13, so if this goes my way, it's an Eldar win. Sam, would you like to do the honours? It's over. Okay, good game, thank you very much. Okay then, so end of turn 5 and the Eldar just ping it on points by a single point.
On the last turn.
On the last turn, although if it had gone on another turn or 2, I would have probably wiped you out at that point.
Yeah, well, I'll say, I think the way you play Eldar is going to be much better in this edition, because the broken meta of Eldar, I think, has gone. Scout lasers are just worthless now.
Yeah, I spoke to a GW store manager the other day. I actually bumped into him at the zoo randomly. We're both taking our kids there, and yeah, he said the Wraith Knight is now massively overcosted, so I'm rather glad I don't own one.
Yeah.
And yeah, scatter bikes. I'm so glad I magnetised those scatter lasers, because they were not as effective.
No, they were just useless. I mean, even though you were shooting them, they weren't even doing that much damage.
No, I mean, the -1 to hit for moving with a heavy weapon, and scatter lasers being a heavy weapon and bikes not being exempt from that, as yeah, meant that the Shuriken Cannon, which is also cheaper than the scatter laser now, is probably the better choice for a jet bike. But you don't even necessarily need to spam jet bikes now.
No, I would definitely say, well, your whole army, bar the Striking Scorpions, no, not Scorpions,
Swooping Hawks?
Swooping Hawks had effective rending.
Or something to that effect, with the exception of the scatter lasers. Obviously that was a bigger factor against Chaos.
Yeah, well, I say, you wiped out 15 Marines on turn 2. Granted, 3 of them died to rolling 3 1s in a Rhino, but... You know,
you did have some bad dice luck there, but I think Eldar are still definitely strong. It's certainly...
Definitely stronger than Chaos. I mean, that's what I would field 1750, and that's 2k now. I don't think Chaos got better. I made a few mistakes. I overestimated the range of warp time on turn 1. I was planning to get my Demon Prince into combat, and I went, oh, I'm out of range.
Although I think if you had got your Demon Prince into combat, it would have just meant he'd have died earlier, because he'd have been right in front of my whole army at that point.
Yeah, and every time I went to kill your Farseer, it was just like, oh, I do this much damage, and it's not enough.
And I passed my invuln save and then fly away. Having fly on so many things was really good for backing out of combat, so I really like that.
And the fact that I keep forgetting my reserves, because you have to do them at the end of the movement phase now.
Yeah, that's... yeah, forgetting your reserves was a big factor in both this and our previous game. You write it on your hand or something. Or...
yeah, well, I got the reserves out and put them on the table right in front of me, so I wouldn't bloody forget. Otherwise, I would have just lost 300 points.
Oh man, that's crazy times. Those grav tanks are good.
Yeah, I didn't see much from them, to be honest. The things that really kicked me in the teeth were the Fire Dragons suck. They really hurt.
Yeah.
And it was just Those water spiders were getting on my nerves.
They weren't doing a lot of damage though. They were just jumping around 25 inches a turn.
Yeah, every time I shot at them, they passed all their saves, which is really annoying. You know, hitting them with Hades autocannons, you're -1 save, 2 damage, and you're just like, no, I passed all my saves.
Jump.
So yeah, I mean, I was leading it right until that turn 5 where you mopped up a lot of points.
Yeah, I would say going into the 5th turn, it was like 7-13, and then I did masses of points. I got the Warlord, I got the Line Breaker, and scored all 5 of my objectives, which just turned the balance there. I think that's the way it often goes with escalation, because the later turns are worth so many more points.
I mean, that's another thing. If you're fast here, every time I go to attack him, you just die. Demon Prince went for him and did like a wound.
He did, which was worth 3 wounds, but yeah.
And then Four Sword went for him and rolled like a double 1 to hit. It's just like brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But you can only blame dice so much.
It's a dice game. Blame Zinch.
Zinch. Oh.
Oh, I should. Yeah, that's a sore subject. Would you like to tell everyone?
Yeah, Zinch got crap. I mean, I've yet to actually field them, but Zinch demons like Pink Horrors are just worthless. Fate Weaver just ruins the psychic phase by doing it all himself because of the match play. You're only allowed to cast a psychic power once per turn. So Fate Weaver does it all, and the rest of your psychics are standing there going, oh, well, what do I do now?
Incidentally, if anyone out there does know a way in which Zinch is or can be good, then let Sam know, because I'm really liking how his Zinch army is looking right now, and it works really well in AOS, but it's not quite there in 40k right now.
Yeah, I mean, I should probably get it out, try it on the table. There are a few gubbins, but like Blue Horrors, which I now have tons of, are just worthless.
Yeah, but you got them for your Sigmar, so it's not the end of the world.
I'll say, we'll see. I do have like 2,000 points of Caradon Overlords I'm working on. So, yeah. Just to reinforce my hatred of elves of all kind, I decided to play some dwarfs.
Whereas I rather like elves, and I'm still very happy with my Eldar, although I want to get another troops choice, because although I don't think having not been able to field a battalion didn't hurt me too much in that game, I didn't actually end up using all my command points in the end. I would like to at least have the option, which is going to mean a 3rd troops choice. So I'm thinking either Guardians, just because I've got a Metal Warlock at home that needs redoing anyway, he'd go nicely with them, or more Dire Avengers, because it's a Biel Tan aspect host.
I would definitely say more Avengers. It suits the theme of your army, and Avengers are better. I mean, I know your Eldar have got way more expensive, but I think when we up the points level to compensate for the expense,
it seems to balance. But Guardians are really cheap, like 8 points a model, whereas Avengers went up in price, Guardians stayed the same.
Yeah, but Avengers have rending guns.
So do Guardians. The only difference in the guns is that the Guardians have 6-inch less range.
Don't the Guardians have 4+ to hit instead of 3+?
I don't think so. Certainly
they were BS3 before, which meant they were hitting
They were
4s.
BS3 in 5th edition, they went up in 6th edition to hitting on 3s.
All elves can die in a hole.
Alright, well, that's his opinion. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Bye.
Bye.